Hi everyone and welcome back to Maths and Physics with assignments. Today's grade 11 analytical geometry lesson. We're looking at triangle related exam question. The previous one I did a rhombus. Now I'm testing triangle. Right, now this comes from November 2013's final exam paper for grade 12. The diagram below, P is the point, minus 5 and 0. The inclination of the line PT is 63,43 degrees, always from the x-axis till it makes contact with the line. S is the midpoint, so there I have S, it's the midpoint of this line PT. And the y-intercept of PT is also at S. R is a point on the x-axis such that PO to OR is in a ratio 2 to 3. So PO and OR, the ratio 2 to 3. So technically what that means, if I move 3 units this way, I only move 2 units that way. So 5.1, determine the gradient of PT correct to the nearest integer value. So because they've given me an angle, I'm going to use angle of inclination formula. Right, 5.1.2, they want the equation of PT in the form y equal mx plus c. So from above I have the gradient, so I'm going to have to find the coordinates of C, which is point S. Then they want the distance PS in third format, so if I have the coordinates of S and the coordinates of P using distance formula, I can find PS. Then they want the coordinates of T, so favorite exam question, I'm going to use midpoint formula with the point there and T as X and Y to find the coordinates of T. Then they want us to get the coordinates of R. So coordinates of R, we're going to use that ratio there. And then calculating the area of triangle, PTR. And look whether we don't have a 90 degrees, so we're going to use the area rule. Right, so let's start. You can pause here and attempt to answer the question, see what you know, see where you get stuck, see where you made errors. Then you do it again, and you do it again till you don't make those errors, right? That's the proper way of practicing maths. So the gradient of PT correct to the nearest integer value. So inclination of the line is 63,43. So I should know the gradient of PT equals tan of 63,43. Punch that in the calculator, I get 2, so 1 mark for correct formula, another mark for the answer. So there 2 marks. So gradient of PT equal 2. Right? Equation of PT in the form y equal mx plus c. My apologies. So we already know that the gradient of PT equal 2. So there in the place of m, I'm placing 2. So I have y equal 2x plus c. On that line PT, I'm only given 1 point, which is P minus 5 and 0. So if I substitute P minus 5 and 0 back, that means that X is minus 5, while Y there is 0. 2 times negative 5 gives me negative 10. If I take it over, it becomes positive 10. So C is positive 10, so my equation, Y equal 2x plus 10, so 1 for correct substitution, 1 for correct answer. All right. Let's go to the third question. So they want the distance PS in third form. All right, so we want the distance from P to S. So we know the equation is y equal 2x plus 10. S is the y-intercept, so to get the y-intercept, we always make x equal to 0. So if x is 0 there, y is 10. So therefore, coordinates of S is 0 and 10. So OS from O to S is 10 units. So PS squared equal 5 squared plus 10 squared using theorem of Pythagoras. That's 90 degrees. So from there to there is 5 units, 0 to negative 5, 5 units. O to S, 10 units. So 5 squared, 25 plus 100 gives me 125. So square root of PS. PS equals square root 125, which gives me 5 square root 5. Could have also used the distance formula because you have minus 5 and 0 and 10. And also gotten the same answer. Alright, so I hope we understand what I've done there. So again, there where the Cartesian planes meet is always a 90-degree angle. Because I have the length OP as 5 and OS is 10, I can just straight use theorem of Pythagoras that says y squared plus x squared must equal r squared. So that's what I've done there. Right, next question. Now for 5.1.4, they want the coordinates of t. So this is a very important question. We like asking it. You can use the midpoint formula to find the coordinates of an unknown. So there t, because I don't know the coordinates, I'm going to make it x and y. I have s, which is 0 and 10, which is in the middle there. You see those two lines are equal. And I have p, that's minus 5 and 0. So according to this, x minus 5 divided by 2 must equal 0 there. And y plus 0 divided by 2 must equal 10. So from there, 2 times 0 comes 0. That becomes x minus 5. Right, so 2 times 0 is 0. I'm left with x minus 5. And if I take 5 over, x equal 5. There, y minus 0 over 2 equal 10. 10 times 2 gives me 20. Y minus 0 stays y, so y equal 20. Therefore, coordinates of t is 5 and 20. So I hope you see how I've taken the coordinates of the midpoint, 0 and 10. Because I have that values, I can place them there. From there, midpoint formula says x1 plus x2 over 2. So that x minus 5 divided by 2 must equal 0. Then y minus 0 or plus 0 divided by 2 must equal 10. To get rid of a denominator, we always cross multiply. So 10 times 2, 2 times 0. Alright, and then we simplify. So hope you got that. So whenever we give you a midpoint and we want the coordinates of another point, you'll see when I do the parallelogram question, where the diagonals bisect, we also use the midpoint formula to find the coordinates of another point. Alright, now 5.2, they want us to determine the coordinates of R. So we want R for 2 marks. We know from O to P is 5 units, but OP to OR equal 2 to 3. So OR equal then 5 times 3 over 2. Alright, so that from O to R is bigger than from O to P. So therefore I put the biggest value on top and the smallest value at the bottom. Alright, this is taught to you in grade 9 when we increase in a ratio. So 5 times 3 gives me 15 divided by 2, which would give me 7,5. Or you can leave it as 15 over 2. So R is 15 over 2 to 0. Remember the y value on the x-axis is always 0. So there we have the coordinates of R. Alright. Right, the last question here says calculate the area of triangle PTR. So there's PTR. Right, now we've found the coordinates of T. T is 5 and 20. That means if I draw a straight line from T down to the x-axis, so it makes a 90-degree unit. From here to T is 20 units. So I have perpendicular height. Then I can take PR as the base, because the base and the height always meets up at 90 degree. So area of triangle PTR equal half my base PR times my perpendicular height. Right, so base PR from there to there is 5 units. From O to R was 7,5 or 15 over 2. So that's actually 12,5. Perpendicular height 20 units. So there, if we multiply that all out, I get 125 square units. So 1 mark for the equation, 2 marks for correct substitution for base and perpendicular height, and 1 mark for the answer, provided it says square units or units squared. Right, so hope we together there. Wish you nothing but the best. I hope this lesson is helpful to you. And I hope that you work hard. Remember, God will always reward your hard work. He states so in the Bible. God bless. Bye.